My name is Zoe Smith. This year, Jesup celebrates its 150th birthday. As you may or may not know, there are 3 people from whom Jesup could possibly be named after. Today you will hear from 3 descendants of these men. You will hear from a relative of Morris K. Jesup, Thomas Sidney Jesup, and James R. Jesup. Each relative will make a plea for their ancestor to be Jesup's namesake.
Hello, my name is Anna Jesup Watkins, the great-niece of Morris Ketchum Jesup, a renowned New York businessman and financier associated with building railroads, who is also very philanthropic, and a prominent power in the financing of the Atlantic and Gulf Railroad, also known as the Coastline, which was the first railroad that came into Jesup. It is for him that the county seat was named and that this county should be named. Morris K. Jesup was a key player in the formation of the Atlantic and Gulf Railroad, chartered in 1856, which traversed southern Georgia from Screven all the way to Thomasville. The enterprise was initiated by a group of Savannah and Brunswick businessmen who were seeking to tap into southwest Georgia's cotton market for the benefit of Georgia's ports. During the war, the A&G was consolidated to assist with the movement of troops and supplies. The A&G and the Pensacola in Georgia jointly built a branch line from Lawton, now DuPont, Georgia, to Live Oak, Florida, which was the first rail connection between the states. Its completion, however, came too late to do much in the war effort, and it lost a great amount of money for its investors. The railroad was later sold at a foreclosure sale. Morris K. Jesup, born June 21, 1830, in the poor working-class neighborhood of Green Farms in Fairfield, Connecticut, was born to strict Puritan parents and instilled from an early age the value of universal education. Jesup, though smart and resourceful, was unable to attend college due to financial issues, so he eventually entered the business world and engaged in the banking and manufacturing profession. Eventually, his success would lead him to the presidency of the New York Chamber of Commerce. Jesup also strived to better the lives of young men, women, and children who were alike in the circumstances he was accustomed to in his youth. He was the benefactor of many charities, including the House of Industry, which was a charitable institution established in the 18th and 19th centuries in various cities in the British Empire under the Poor Law to offer relief to the destitute. In addition to the Museum of Natural History and the Children's Aid Society, a lifelong member of the Young Men's Christian Association, or the YMCA, he also helped to charter and establish a chapter in New York City. The self-made millionaire even donated $35,000 to Williams College. Morris K. Jesup was also instrumental in the founding of the American Museum of Natural History in 1869, and as its president, helped fund the expedition that bears his name, the Jesup North Pacific Expedition, led by Franz Boas, the first landmark research project of the Division of Anthropology, turned out to be one of the most scientifically important anthropological investigations ever mounted. Conceived and directed by Franz Boas, the expedition was concerned with the extent and nature of contact between the tribes of the Northwest Coast and Siberia, with an eye to solving the problem of the origin of the first populations to inhabit the New World. Morris K. Jesup, my beloved great-uncle, should be rightfully named the founder of Jesup, Georgia. His charitable nature and his passion for success are testaments to Jesup itself, and it is high time that he be recognized for such. Thank you.
My name is Alexia Sidney Pear, and I'm the great-great-granddaughter of Thomas Sidney Jesup. I am here today to enlighten you on his valiant contributions to our town and why it should be named after him. He was born in Virginia in December of 1788. He went on to post-secondary education and joined the war efforts in 1808 at the age of 19. This is where he began his military career with the United States Army as a lieutenant of infantry. He moved up the ranks and continued to serve for a span of 52 years. In 1836, Thomas was appointed to command the U.S. troops from Georgia and Alabama for the Second Creek War. He used a different method that most generals don't use, by wearing the Seminole troops down instead of sending them out in large groups. He continued his efforts and made a notable turn in the war by capturing the elusive chief Osceola. If he had not captured him, the war would have continued to be fought, and Wayne County would not have been able to progress in economic developments such as our railroads. These are so important to our economy because they transfer many required resources and materials that we use every day in our county. He participated in numerous other battles, such as the Battle of Niagara, where he was wounded. He was not only considered a national war hero, but also a brigadier general, and later on he was inducted into the Quartermaster Hall of Fame. Thomas's soldiers were buried at Girardi Cemetery in San Sevilla, which is located in Wayne County. These soldiers served under General Thomas for many years through different wars. They could attest to his character not only as a worthy, respectable general, but as a worthy person, true of heart. He had a lake named after him called Lake Jesup in Florida. Also, Fort Jesup in Louisiana was named after him. Due to his many efforts to protect and improve our country, our town is now the place we know and love today. Without Thomas, Jesup would have never been able to develop as substantially as it did. Therefore, the town should be named after him.
As the great niece of James R. Jesup, I am here on his behalf to encourage the dedication of our beloved city after him, as it is after him that it is so rightfully named. My great-uncle has made numerous great contributions to the founding of this town and to promote its development and physical development as well. Jesup, Georgia has always had ties with the railroad, as it was originally named Station Number 6, in reference to its position on the Atlantic and Gulf Railroad line. Captain Willis Clary was also a historical figure deeply ingrained with the foundation of Jesup, as well as the business acquaintance of my great-uncle. The pair had a lot of confidence in each other, as Mr. Clary even entrusted James R. Jesup with money to carry out his business and entrepreneurial plans. Their close relationship is said to have aided in his mayoral duties and stretched as far to have a hand in renaming Station Number 6 to Jesup, Georgia. This relationship between Captain Willis Clary and James R. Jesup included the purchasing of many plots in Wayne County land. These plots include Plot 7, 8, 42, 43, 46, 47, 48, 49, 51, 53, 54, 56, 61, 62, and a fractional number of Plot 44. James R. Jesup was a dedicated railroad engineer who was affiliated with the East Tennessee, Virginia, and Georgia Railroad line. This was the parent company for the Macon and Brunswick Railroad line. It was at his longtime friend Willis Clary's urging the Macon and Brunswick intersected the Savannah, Florida, and Western at Jesup. Uncle James was also the president of the Macon and Brunswick Railroad line, which played a large part in the development of Georgia post-Civil War. The Macon and Brunswick was also known as the Southern Railroad. Being a planner from the beginning, Clary also had the streets of Jesup named for trees as well as being numbered. Cherry, walnut, elm, pine, and hickory, to name a few, are the streets you find in the vicinity of the downtown area. The numbered streets begin with 1st Street and move out to what was then considered to be the country. Now is numbered back to 11th Street. The exception in this rule is the Macon and Brunswick roads, which were named for James R. Jesup's Macon and Brunswick Railroad line, but he was much, much more than a railroad builder. His benefaction of time and money helped the growth of Jesup and furthermore Wayne County, which in turn helped to create the prosperous state of Georgia. He purchased more than 5,000 acres in Wayne County land alone and helped to draw attention to the railroad in Jesup. Again, I reiterate my proposal that on this 150th anniversary, we recognize that our great city of Jesup is in fact named after my great uncle, James R. Jesup.
All rise. State Board of Wayne County is now in session with the Honorable Violet Bennett presiding.
Good afternoon. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and be seated. Good afternoon again, counselors. Yesterday we had quite an interesting day with the presentation of evidence. We're here today because the family of Morris K. Jesup filed pursuant to OCGA Section 9-4-1 et sequitur a motion for declaratory judgment to determine for whom the City of Jesup was named. Counselors, do you agree that all of the evidence is now in?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'll begin with closing arguments. Ms. Brooks, representing the family of Morris K. Jesup, you will go first.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, and fellow colleagues. My name is Cameron Brooks, and I represent the interest of the family of Morris K. Jesup and his great-niece, Anna Jesup Watkins. The plea for the city to be recognized her ancestor and namesake, Mr. Jesup, the court has been presented with the cases of the three men whose relatives believe the City of Jesup to be named. When you look at the facts, there is only one who is truly worthy of this honor, the philanthropist Morris K. Jesup. Mr. Jesup had hands-on experience in one of the first railroads to ever be formed throughout Jesup. At that time was called Station Number 6. Mr. Jesup was an instrumental factor in the route and formation of the Atlantic and Gulf Railroads. Morris K. Jesup grew up in the very humble beginnings. He pulled himself up by the bootstraps to become a millionaire. Mr. Jesup was an extremely talented man and very charitable. He donated money to colleges and universities, and he was the prime investor into the Natural History Museum and funded several of its expeditions. Our City of Jesup would be honored to have his name as our city name. In saying that, I want to leave you with the fact that Mr. Jesup is the only of the three men whose name is presented before us today and is also spelled as the town Jesup, Jesup. The other two men have two S's in their last name. Taking all of this into consideration, there's only one viable, just, and fair option, and that, Your Honor, is Mr. Morris K. Jesup. Thank you.
Ms. Robertson, representing the family of Thomas Sidney Jesup.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, and my fellow colleagues. I'm Laura Kate Robertson, and I am here on behalf of the family of Thomas Sidney Jesup and their desire to see the city be formed and recognized as his namesake. I represent his great-granddaughter, Alexia Sidney Pear. Thomas Sidney Jesup, a true national hero, deserves to have the town named after him due to his many contributions to protecting this country. He is known as the father of the modern quartermaster's corps. He joined the war efforts in 1808 in order to make our country a finer place and continued to become a renowned war hero. He and his troops managed to capture the infamous chief of the Seminoles, Osceola, which was detrimental to winning the Second Creek War. This ended the war earlier and made it possible for our town and others like Jesup to advance the economic opportunities such as building the railroads. Without these railroads, then we would not have been able to transport specific materials needed to advance the town. He was an upstanding person and a highly respected war hero. Any city would be proud to bear his namesake. Even though General Jesup never lived in the town of Jesup, he did have a huge impact in this area. In the Drawdy Cemetery, here in Wayne County, there are several graves that hold the bodies of soldiers who fought under the leadership of General Jesup's command. These brave men could speak to the influence and character that General Jesup portrayed. In closing, I would like to remind the court that Wayne County was named for a General Anthony Wayne, who influenced this area. It only makes sense that the City of Jesup also be named for a general that influenced our area. So I'm asking the court to recognize Thomas Sidney Jesup as for whom Jesup is named.
And Ms. Corbett, representing the family of James R. Jesup.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, and my colleagues. I am April Corbett, and I am here representing the family of James R. Jesup. I would like to start by reiterating what my client, Zoe Jesup Smith, has said about her great-great-uncle, James R. Jesup. He and his business partner, Willis Clary, were instrumental in helping build the city of Jesup into what it is today. His hard work and dedication to the railroads turned Jesup into a city, rather than just Station Number 6, a mere railroad stop. When Clary and Jesup first started their partnership, Jesup was still named Station 6, in reference to its position on the Eastern Atlantic Railroad. Captain Willis Clary and James R. Jesup worked together to bring the Macon and Brunswick Railroad to Jesup. Mr. Jesup was the president of this railroad. The bringing of the Macon and Brunswick Railroad to Georgia helped the whole state post-Civil War. Mr. James R. Jesup also purchased many plots of land that are still part of Jesup and parts of Wayne County. Altogether, he purchased over 5,000 acres of land in Wayne County alone and helped bring notoriety to our new city. He helped draw attention to Jesup and Wayne County by getting a major railroad built in the middle of the town, the Yeargan and Brunswick line. This railroad put Jesup on the map, steadily increasing our growth as a city. Jesup and Wayne County flourished post-Civil War due to the business sense and dedication of James R. Jesup. Willis Clary, Mr. Jesup's business partner, even went on to become the very first mayor of Jesup. Mr. Clary and Mr. Jesup were avid arborists. Clary named all the streets in Jesup after trees, except the two next to the railroad, which are named in honor of the Yeargan and Brunswick line that Mr. James Jesup brought to Jesup. So the two streets on each side of the railroad are named Yeargan Street and Brunswick Street. James R. Jesup left his stamp on Jesup's very streets. Had it not been for him and close business partner, Captain Willis Clary, who is to say where Jesup would be today? In closing, I would like to point out the fact my client's ancestors, James R. Jesup, is the only one of the three Jesup men who lived in, prospered, and helped grow Jesup, Georgia. So I ask the court to rule for my client's ancestors that this court recognize James R. Jesup as the namesake for our town. Thank you, Your Honor.
Is there anything else from anyone else, any of the attorneys? Any rebuttal?
No, Your Honor.
All right, ladies, thank you very much. This was a very interesting endeavor. I learned things about my hometown that I didn't know. I understand your position about how Jesup is spelled only with one S and that your client's was only spelled with one S. However, it is not unusual for throughout the years for the spelling to be changed. Penn Holloway Creek here in Jesup used to be spelled Phenhnholloway, and it is no longer spelled that way. So I do not put a lot of credit in that argument. As to Thomas Jesup, who never even lived here, I understand your argument, but really, ladies, the weight of the evidence goes to James R. Jesup because he lived here, he bought land here. The names of the roads that run parallel to the railroad are named after the railroad company that he was part of. And so I find that the City of Jesup was named after James R. Jesup. That is my ruling. Thank you very much.
All right. Court is now adjourned.